Hey, what's going on, everyone? So we're going to go through the NBA slate for tonight. Maybe we'll do an NHL lineup build as well. And with any luck, we'll do a live stream a little bit later. It's a late night tonight. They have DraftKings are actually putting the late games on their slate as well. Interestingly, I mean, I think this would be a decent time to actually to segment these slates because the fifth game starts at 8 o'clock and then 6th, 7th, and 8th at 10 o'clock. So they could have actually gotten away with cutting them up, but you know what? It's all good for me. Good opportunity to late swap. You'll have plenty of time to. I mean, you have a full 9:30 to 10 o'clock stretch. You'll get all kinds of information. Yeah. Oh, what's up, Bobby?
Hey, man.
Oh, I was gathering from your text that you weren't going to be able to make it or something.
No, okay. We made it, but it's just a weird situation.
And I have to Google what that word means because I don't know what that means. I was going to do that.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Like identity theft or something.
It's someone else's. Yeah, but it's actually like it's when you lie about who you are. We still don't know who this person is.
Okay. Okay.
It's like a little police team now. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, check that out. All right, so I just put the I just did the projections. It looks as though we're getting this Cleveland value again, and now it's looking pretty violent. I mean, I'm looking at Craig Porter and Ty Jerome, both over 7x projections.
Yeah,
we got 3 of the New Orleans guys at 6x as well. The Kane, I have the Kane, Jerome Robinson Earl, and Brandon Boston. And then still that Kevin Porter Jr. is pushing 6x in the late game. And then Robert Williams is still pushing 6x in the first game. So all this value. And then these Memphis guys are showing up a little bit more. Olivia and Brandon Clark. So, and I got to ask you who Antonio Reeves is for New Orleans. I mean,
it's just really a number of players is the issue.
Okay.
For New Orleans, they should only have. I mean, Missy is still questionable. Fortunately, it's the first game, but if he's out, then like Daniel Tice is going to look like a great play also. But like we're not able to play Elfrid Payton, so he would be the other one they have. But it depends on if Missy's out. So it's pretty impossible to get away from the Cleveland New Orleans game no matter what you're doing tonight. And that's the first game on the slate, obviously. And it's hard to get away from Giannis with all that value against the best matchup in basketball. So those are the 2 early games. And unfortunately, we have to not unfortunately, we just have to make our decisions early about that.
I mean, unless you want to have some fun and play like, and play Booker, and Curry or
you could play Booker and Curry and Giannis, by the way, and it's not.
Can you really? That's annoying.
It is annoying. It's just you've got what 5 guys above 6x right now. If Missy is out, then you're going to have like 6 guys above 7x. Like it's going to be ridiculous because they just don't have any players.
And Elf Payton is playing for Cleveland tonight or New Orleans?
New Orleans. But yeah, they actually have they have 10 guys, and if Missy's out, they'll have 9.
9's not a lot,
and none of them are particularly expensive. And honestly, if Elf Payton was, whether he starts or not tonight, if he was available, he would be the guy I would be playing.
Yeah.
They just need a shot creator there. Yeah.
Well, I'm building right now, and I'm sure that's what I'm going to get. Right, the 100% Giannis, and then a whole bunch of Cleveland and New Orleans, I presume.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be.
What do you think I would get if I X'd out Giannis? I'm not going to, but like, what do the non-Giannis lineups look like?
That's a good question. I actually don't think it's a bad idea. Like, the ownership's going to be so high, and there is like a Lillard game script. There's a blowout script. Like, there's those possibilities. But I would imagine that you will get all the Steph, and I would imagine that you will get. I mean, it's just weird with a slate this big when you have one player who's projected 13 points higher than anybody else's. So I think you would end up with all the Booker, Steph, and probably Shea Cat, those would be the guys. Franz, but I'm playing a ton of Franz anyway. But yeah, I guess Lillard you'd probably get too, because he's actually showing up as a good play for most. I did want to point out that Steph historically against this Hawks team in 5 matchups, he's averaging 42 a game real life points, with like 7-3 average, 7 threes. Like it's a pretty much the nut matchup for him. And he's not usually a guy I like to play, especially as he's getting some ownership. But this, like you said earlier, this year's been a little different. And his price he's not 10-5 like the other guys are. He's 91, and I think that's very reasonable. I think building with those 9K guys is your pivot off of the Giannis path if you want to go that route.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good ones.
Who else is looking to be the higher owned? Craig Porter, Earl, Boston, Jerome.
Yep.
Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine is, and he's going to be popular. He'll be in that Giannis game too. I think he's going to be popular. Let me just double check the latest thing. Yeah, pretty popular, I think. But it's weird because I think there's a couple of get super weird plays here. Philadelphia needs to get some wins at some point. Okay. This is the worst version of Embiid we've ever seen. It's also the cheapest Embiid's been since he was a rookie. Why can't Embiid maybe have a game at 9,800 at 0 ownership? The minutes, he played 34 in a game. So if we assume he can play that, that's basically his normal minutes in what you would consider, not must win is too strong, but it is a similar type situation. And it's not like you have, big guys on the other side. You have decent, like Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark and Santi Aldama, and Jay Huff. I just think that Embiid is a sneaky, this could be one of those kind of plays that, what if he ends up with 65? It wouldn't be surprising. And what if that actually ends up being the highest score on the night?
Right.
And he's so much cheaper than the other guys, and he just forces you to differentiate your build. I think it's an interesting play that I don't see many people going to. I think Franz is a great play. TJ is asking about Franz being different, but I think that Franz is not a get different play. I think that he actually is going to have some ownership, and I think he should. I think he's as good a 9K play as these other guys are. Unfortunately, the ownership came up on Booker. It looks like Booker, Towns, and Steph are all getting similar types of ownership, and Franz too, for that matter, and Lillard. But nobody's playing Trey, and no one's playing Embiid, and no one's playing James Harden. And I think it's worth it to get overweight all those other ones if you're multi-entering tonight.
Yeah, the Embiid one is interesting.
Yeah, and he'll probably be the lowest, but I think Trey, why not? Why is Donovan Mitchell? If we thought this game was going to stay close, I don't know. You'd assume that he would show up because no Garland, but because we're so expecting a blowout, no one's thinking about. Well, I guess Mitchell's not just. I thought early in the day he'd be 30% owned, and he's looking like he's going to be closer to 10.
I mean, that's there. It seems to be the debate again today about whether you need run backs against value and stuff like that.
I think it's weird though, because the natural game for stacking is the Cleveland New Orleans game.
Yeah,
because you have all the values there anyway. And unless New Orleans plays all 10 of their guys 24 minutes, which is just hard for me to picture, there's just no way at least 2 aren't going to get there. Now, are they going to get there big enough? But if they're not going to, certainly the Cleveland guys are.
Yeah, so when I just ran this with the Sims, I'm only getting 45% Giannis, which is I kind of like that.
Yeah, I'd like to try to get to be underweight Giannis, and that's sort of my theory. I don't think you need to get rid of the value when it's showing up, especially the 8x value for Porter. Maybe that's even if you think that's too high, it's still not that high. It does seem a little bit high to project him for 30, as an average, but it's doable, and it's the right kind of matchup. But he and Jerome, I think you would want to make sure you have at least one of them in every lineup, but I wouldn't separate them. It's just really hard to picture them not getting there. If they don't,
and who does? I mean,
Yeah, like it's just I guess it's just Mitchell, but like they're not. Is he playing the whole time? It is weird though, because like that's the thing. Mitchell and Mobley are like the pivots off of their own team's value.
Right. Right.
So, and I haven't figured it out what rules or if any to set, but I am like finding myself just well overweight those other, the Jalen Brunson, you know, the Embiids, and it's just like a way of trying to flip the. There's no like none of these guys who could score 60 tonight. If people are just going to say, okay, it's not going to happen it's not even a matchup thing. It's just like, oh, there's other plays that we think are more likely. Well, let's get some of those guys. Shea with still no, we don't know about what's his name playing tonight.
Who?
Hartenstein.
Hartenstein? I didn't even know he still played.
No, he was a huge offseason thing for OKC. He was like considered partly why they're the favorites.
Oh, but he's been out now for a while, I guess.
He hasn't played yet this year, yeah. So, but they haven't had a true big. So, like I like the Jalen Williams play, but I like it less if he's in. He's still questionable for what it's worth. But like let's get these other guys in there. Just if you, and especially in the mass entering thing, like why wouldn't we try to play guys who are projected within 2 fantasy points of the other ones when they're literally getting 1/6, 1/7 the ownership?
That's true.
That's just my take for tonight, I guess. Messi is in, says TJ. Okay, so that's a little bit. You can bump some of the New Orleans value. It's not necessary to necessarily play like you don't have to play 4 of them, but you probably want to be somewhere around like 2 in a good portion of your lineups. Most of your lineups, I would say, actually.
What happened to that Santiago guy or whatever? Who's that guy that was showing up earlier today?
Who was it?
I don't remember now.
I can't remember, honestly. But you know who does get lost in sometimes in these situations are plays like Robert Williams.
No, I'm getting him.
You're still, yeah. But I mean, his ownership has dropped from like looking like it was going to be like 60% because of the amount of other value. And the guy who won't get played by anybody hardly is Klingon. And I think he's like a really interesting tournament play.
Right.
And I think it's a good way to look at
Holly, quiet.
Like how to just find the few little ways to get different, the guys to get over on that just other people aren't getting to. I mean, I've got Fred VanVleet's another one who's at the mid tier. I've got 25% of him right now.
Okay.
And he's like projected around 8%, 9%. I've got I'm just overweight. I have Klingon at 10 to 11%. I have Jalen Johnson, who we don't even know if he'll play, but I have him at 11%. He's going to be like 1% owned. I'm overweight. I've got 10% of Trey or 11% of Trey. I've got 10% of Jalen Williams, 10% of Mobley, those kind of guys. I just want to spread out a little bit some of this ownership and maybe get to Embiid in the 30 range. It's a great spot for Embiid, but he could score 70, and one of these 9K guys probably gets close or to that, So if you can find the right mix of that, I think it's an interesting way to fade him. Maybe the right idea would be just to fade him. It's not a crazy idea. Like when he was getting this ownership and he put up that 97, remember Lillard wasn't playing. It's a very different team when Lillard plays, and Giannis doesn't get there often when Lillard plays. I mean, he just put up 45 the other night.
You know what there's a lot of tonight? There's a lot of juniors tonight. There's Kevin Porter Jr., there's Craig Porter Jr., there's Jaren Jackson Jr., there's Brandon Boston Jr.
There is a lot of juniors.
A lot of juniors.
And I keep watching 10 years, people will be doing DFS shows talking about they're only playing juniors that night because all of these guys' kids seem to turn into NBA players.
Right.
She's interesting too, but like you just got to hope Portland keeps it close.
What is this? We have, it's from yesterday. Miles Turner remains questionable still.
Yeah, that's another huge one because then we just jump right back on.
That idiot. Yeah.
Well, it probably won't be Freeman for anybody, so I'll play some Freeman, but it'll be what's his name? It'll be Toppin.
Curry probable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have too much of Booker. I think I should get more of that.
Yeah, I think the Oh, another one that's low ownership that I could see having a good night tonight is Halliburton. Like, this is what I mean. It doesn't mean you have to play all these guys, but if you're playing, let's say you're playing 150 tonight. Okay, so go 10% Halliburton, 10% Embiid, 10% Trey, 10%, all these guys who you want to be over the field on. You'll still end up with some Giannis, but it's going to drop, I promise you. And I just think that's the right way to go about the multi-entry, at least from what I'm looking at tonight. And then, there's some guys who you just have your takes on, and I'm going to commit to Wagner being my favorite of the 9K plays. But I'm actually lowering I'm going to lower my ownership. I'm down to 30-something% of them in my latest run. Guys who are out there, I will post that my updated stuff in the Discord. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. And as what TJ is saying in here, that's another one. Like the Bulls, Zach LaVine is projected to be 25% owned. First of all, it's always fadeable because it literally just takes it. It's a great matchup and everything. Don't get me wrong, but why instead of that? Why don't you play half of that on LaVine and then put the other 10% on, whether it be Giddey? I guess it would be Giddey or, what has happened to the projection for Kobe White? There it is. Giddey or White, but probably White for me. But even that's, you're not getting totally low ownership. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of ways just to make little changes to get different. And then in terms of guys you really commit to, I'm okay with like committing to Wagner. I feel fine with Giannis. Like I don't think I need to play that much chalk. So I would say Wagner, Booker, Curry, Van Vliet, and Şengün would be my next favorites. And if you just try to avoid a lot of the Giannis stuff, and I'm starting to think more and more about what you started off asking, that maybe that's the right way to play tonight.
Well, I wouldn't X him out. I'm just curious what the lineups without him look like. That's all.
Well, I'm gonna run some without him. So because I'm considering.
Well, I already have some. I have more than half my lineups don't have him.
Right, but what if like you just had none of them?
Okay.
Let's just see what it does, and let's rebuild, and let's up the minimum.
But you're just giving up a lot of lineups that are probably good lineups with him and non-chalk.
Yeah, you're right. I just want to test it out to see what it does. And I have some percentages assigned to other guys, so this is not going to be a totally pure one, but I think it's going to be close to what I think it's going to be. A lot of Booker, Franz, and Curry, and Şengün, like 4 of them with the value or something. Just a guess. These are the kind of slates where I would say, like what TJ is saying, he likes Tari Eason and Sheets. I would have told you this. I'm glad I didn't talk to you about that specific thing, because that was your big buy in that night. And I would have said, if you play Tari Eason on this kind of slate, what are you doing? There's just all of this kind of value. How is that ever going to get there? But then he goes out and just goes nuts, So I can't say no, not Tari Eason. He has the capability of going nuts. There's nothing that says, okay, Tari Eason has to go crazy tonight. But why not? It's Indiana. Like that's maybe being overlooked a little. You know what? Even that's not getting overlooked enough. Like if he was going to be like, you had him at less than 1%. Now he's 700 more, and he's looking at 15% ownership.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it when the way you had it more than that. I thought it was going to be a little lower than that today. Yeah, they benched Jabari for a lot of the last game, and that's another one. If it was a small slate or a showdown or something like that, or 2-gamer, I would say play a ton of Jabari Smith, because he got benched for the whole fourth quarter, and narratives make a difference to people, and including me. But like he got benched for most of the time because the other guys were just balling out. Like, what if it's the other way around tonight? It'll be Smith.
I like Şengün a lot.
Yeah, I think he's a good shock in my opinion. I think he and Van Vliet both, by the way. People didn't realize it. Is anybody paying attention to what Fred Van Vliet's doing? The guy cannot be missing more shots all season. He was shooting 26% from the field when we had this conversation last Wednesday, I believe. And his last 4 games, he's starting to pick it up. But still, you have a 6 for 18 where he put up 36. But then look, he makes half of his shots, or near half of his shots, and he's putting up 49s and 50s and whatnot. And I think it's a great matchup. Why do we have to assume that a guy who's shooting poorly is going to keep doing it? He's not even doing it anymore. I think he's a really good play. I don't understand why he and Zach, like, to me, he seems like he should have much higher ownership than Levine to me.
Who?
Van Vliet. They're the same price. And he doesn't need to get like red hot flaming to get there. The difference is Jalen Green was out for 2 of those games? Let me just double check. He's still questionable tonight. No, he played. He played in them, actually. I don't know. I like the idea of the guy with the ball in his hands versus Levine, who sometimes is in his hands all the time, and other times you don't see him touch the ball for like 7 possessions because it's all Kobe White or it's all Josh Giddey or it's all Vooch. TJ is asking about Zubac. Are you getting Denny Zubac? Because I like that play, even though I didn't get too much of him in my first builds. I mean, I got him at 5%, but he's projected to be like 0.5% owned.
Somebody just got ruled out. Hold on. Is Anthony Simons out?
It's possible. Let's see. It depends if. Let me just double check. Yeah, Simons is out, so that's going to make Shaden Sharp look like a really good play. I'm good with the Shaden Sharp for sure. I'll be overweight that. He was already like a reasonable play anyway. Now I think he's going to look like one of the best plays on the slate. I also think that it's going to make Scoot has not really gotten there the way you'd want him to, but let's just see what else we've got here. Hold on. It's hard to talk myself into Jeremy Grant or Denny Avdia, but I guess Scoot or Delano Banton.
Was Simon even questionable?
Yeah, he was probable. He was most likely going to play earlier today.
Oh, guess not. Okay.
He was in the starting lineups on the page that I'm still looking at, actually. That's why I was confused. So I'm guessing they're gonna start Scoot. Yeah, so it's also a little bit of a boost to like Robert Williams and Klingon.
Yeah.
Just because like one of them will always be in, sometimes they'll be in together. But Banton, I mean, this Banton, even with Simons has been out, but Banton just goes out there and he scored. I mean, I wish he was a little cheaper, but he like 6Xs every night, but he does it in like 25 minutes.
Time is that game? 8? Yeah, it's 8.
Yeah. So we don't really have much more decisions from the first game.
Yeah, you just got to get it right.
Just got to get it right. So I'll just say what I've got currently for the first game. On the New Orleans side, I have 55% of Robinson Earl, 50% of Boston, 30% of Kane. Oops, I ended up with Portland. 25% of Reeves, 22% of Javonte Green, although that's going to probably lower now that there's going to be better Portland value. And then I have Trey Jameson like 5% and Messi like 5%.
Oh, this is the guy, Carlo Maktovich. That was the guy that was
the Makovich.
He's 3K. I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I've got him 11% also.
Yeah, I currently have the majority of it is on Jamal Cain.
I'm a little worried about him as a ultra ceiling guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have him too. I have him 30%, but I kind of like the Robinson Earl in Boston because those guys can get 50, or Robinson Earl can get 40 and Boston can get 50.
Well, basically, the other thing is that one thing that we've learned from this discussion is that we forgot about is you have Giannis who's going to be very popular, and if you could find someone to outscore Giannis at low ownership, you're in good shape. And you identified one pretty sweet one, and that would be Embiid. Mm-hmm. He'd have to do something that he hasn't done in a while, right? But he definitely has that in him. In addition to that, you have Shea, who can outscore Giannis. You have, I don't know if Curry can get, but in a weird way, I think that Trey can get there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then who's to say Franz can't? Yeah, it's tough though.
No, I actually think Franz makes more sense than the other ones.
You think so?
I really do.
And the other one is Cat can certainly do it.
Yeah, I really think Franz and Cat can both get 70. And by the way, so can Şengün, but everybody's playing him anyway. But he's another one to throw in.
He's cheap though, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
But no, but he can do it. Like, we know he can get there.
Right, but like you said, but he's cheap, so he's not going to be low owned. Is what I'm saying.
Right. Those are the pivot ones you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that you need to outscore Giannis, but like if you come within, if you get 3 guys who come within 10 points of him, then you're great.
Not if you pick guys that are just those. Oh, well, actually, he is the most expensive, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's nobody projected anywhere near him on the slate. He's got a 65-point projection. The next highest is Shea at 52.
Right, so let's see what the projections look like on the.
Unfortunately, with the Simons thing, it's going to become even more chalky, the Giannis play. But I'm looking at it without Giannis. So I ran a build without Giannis. I'm running Sims without Giannis.
It looks like Sharp is up a little. I don't even know if it's been moved really, but. You'd have to believe that like Sharp, Grant, Robert Williams, Scoot, like the guys that can shoot it a little bit, you know. Wow, Denny Avdia, he's on Portland.
Yeah, the only problem is it's been the same situation. Simons is not like a new guy who's out. He was supposed to be coming back today.
Oh, okay.
He has been out, in fact, at least for some of these games. So, yeah, I think that the Shaedon Sharp thing is going to be hard to argue against. First of all, this guy's going to has everything in him that makes me think he should be like a superstar. He's willing to take 1,000,000 shots. The last 2 games, he's taken a combined 44 shots in 2 games. He's put up 48 and 42. He's going to be the chalk of the slate in 2 seconds, and for good reason, by the way. But I think Scoot's a pivot off of him that you can maybe not even off of him. Maybe you just try to play them together. I just don't think people are going to play Scoot quite as much unless his projection goes through the roof, which I don't think it's quite going to. Okay, we'll make sure to get some of Scoot for sure. Yeah, it's still trying to figure out what
this is what I'd like. Why am I only getting? No, that's not what I want. I want more Booker. That's what I want.
TJ, I'm just curious about your question about Javonte Green. Why do you think he got waived? I think you're thinking of somebody else. I think you're thinking of what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Jalen Noel, who got waived. Javonte Green is going to play minutes. He's just I can't promise you what he'll do with those minutes. Cavs will start Jerome, Mitchell, Jalen, Tyson, Mobley, and Allen. Okay. So Jalen Tyson now is in our lives at 3K. Do we need it? Oh my God. Maybe we do. I don't know if we need it. It doesn't feel right. That's so weird to me that I thought they were going to start. They said they were probable to start Yang before. And then they said that now they're starting Tyson. Why are they? I guess just keeping guys in their role when you're that good. But you're starting a guy who hasn't played like at all. Ugh. I barely know anything about Jalen Tyson, by the way.
Who are you talking about?
Jalen Tyson is starting for the Cavs.
Oh, Jesus.
So, which shouldn't change anyone's opinion about Craig Porter Jr. He wasn't going to start anyway, most likely. He'll still play plenty. So will Yang, but nobody's really playing Yang. It's really like a 7-man, and they're not going to play a 7-man rotation, but like they only have 10 bodies, and one of them is Tristan Thompson, and one of them is JT Thor, who's played 4 minutes this season, and the other one is Luke Travers, who's played 3 minutes this season. And yes, they're playing like the most banged up. So these are 2 teams with 10-man rotations, where the only player in the game who costs any money are players are Mitchell, Allen, and Mobley. Nobody else really costs enough. Jesus. So I guess if you want to get creative, Sheets, maybe it's a time where you say no more than 2 from New Orleans, no more than 2 from Cleveland is another route that could be possible, because those guys are going to be 1,000,000% owned, I think. Or you go the opposite and you say minimum of 2 of each, and then you're probably going to end up with a lot of 4s and 5s. Yeah, the top 8 values right now are in that game. Boy, Robert Williams' projection shut the hell up after the Simons.
Simons?
Yeah, that surprises me. It seems like a temporary thing.
Yeah, so I'm forcing in those pivots, like those Embiids and Youngs and like those Giannis pivots.
Yeah, I like that. It was really frustrating for everybody in the DFS world when Embiid was a rookie because his price would be like 7K and then he'd have like an 18-minute limit and then he would score like 45. You know? And it was like every time. And then sometimes he'd score 60 in like 20 minutes, even when they bumped it up. I just got a feeling tonight I mean, they need to win games, and this is a good matchup for him to do it. But he's looked, I mean, incredibly awful. Like, just horrible. Ugh. Yeah, I ran some FanDuel builds, and pretty much no matter what you do, you're going to end up with 100% Giannis unless you adjust something, I think. Just because there's just an extreme amount of value, and you've got a guy with a projection on FanDuel 15 points higher than anybody. If you want to be creative on FanDuel and you're mass entering, maybe fade Giannis, just as an idea.
Let me see what's going on with the Portland stuff here. I don't see too much of a bump here.
The projection on Simons was low earlier today, so maybe it's not as much as, let's see. It should update in a minute.
Trey, Curry, Booker, Cat. Yeah, I kind of like what I'm doing there.
This is weird I think it's going to change in a minute because they're projecting Scoot ahead of Sharp point. Like, I don't get that. We've had this for days in a row. Why would it all of a sudden go the other way?
Right.
Huh. Boy, Scoot has had some just horrendous looking games. I still like him though a little bit. But Sharp, I don't even know what we're thinking about. Like, his usage has been the games without Simons, 35, coming back from an injury too. Still played 36 minutes. Yeah, it's hard to argue against the Shaedon Sharp play. I hope for whatever the projections stay the same and they don't play him, because I'll make sure that I have, like, he'll be in like half my lineups.
Shaedon Sharp?
Yeah, I just don't see why you wouldn't play him. Like, what is I get that there's other guys who can get 30, who are average, like medians out to 30, but look at the variance. Like, it's so high for him. He can get 50, and that's not right. Even these other guys, yes, there might be a weird freak Ty Jerome or Craig Porter game, but most likely you're not playing those guys to get 50, He just put up 48 the last game. I think it's for him. God, this would be a tough slate to make I was thinking about a cash game lineup. So if I was making a cash game lineup, I would play Jerome, Porter, Shaedon Sharp, eating up a lot of those guard spots. That's I guess the answer.
Shaedon Sharp's not that cheap though, is he?
But what does he have to? I mean, for what he does, like, shouldn't he be 7,500? He just came back from an injury. They kept him to a 20-minute limit, and since they let it go, he put up 32. But then without Simons, he put up 42 and 48 in the last two. And he's got, he put up 65s last year. Like, he was the number one rated player in high school for a long time, and he just had off the court issues. I'm never worried about off the court issue guys. It just means they're going to shoot more.
Yeah, so I forced in 15% of him too. I'm forcing in like a lot of guys.
I think it's the right. I think it's a good slate to do it. Hey, it worked for me with Westbrook last night. It's hard to win with 40 entries to a $5 tournament for 100,000, but
Are you kidding? It's like impossible.
I had a chance there for a minute. Looked for a minute like that San Antonio game might go into overtime, and I had 4 guys from that game, and 3 of them were low owned. Ugh. Maxey is in. It's not great for my Embiid take. I was hoping he'd be out for Embiid's sake. I'm glad he's back for their sake, but maybe I'm a little. I still think at 9,800 you could play him.
Yeah, maybe I do have too much of the Jamal Cain here.
I'm going to refresh one more time. I'm going to bet by now they have the Portland stuff up there. We should have a better projection on. Oh my, what am I missing here? They're loving the Banton, I guess. Well, not even loving. That's weird. I think it's just still trying to figure it out. Can we get a Jeremy Grant revenge in OKC? He's been really good in revenge games in his career.
I was just I just had him listed at like 3%. I was wondering if I wanted to give him myself a little more.
Oh no, she said, don't make me change you. You're too good the way you are. don't allow me.
Well, I won't know the difference. It's like
no, because you always end up nailing it. I don't want to curse it by upping the percentage.
No, that's fine. But I have more of Towns than Giannis. I have more of Curry than Giannis. And I have sprinkles of the Sheas and the Bookers and the Embiids and the Youngs. We shall just see.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant. Let me see. What do I have of him? Hopefully, maybe. Could I have 10 maybe of him? I have 3.
Is this going to be one of the biggest stacking nights in recent?
What kind of revenge can you be though when you're like a 15-point underdog? I mean,
but that's the thing is I don't think that they can't be competitive here. I mean, we'll see especially if Hartenstein's out, which we haven't gotten word on yet. At least I didn't see any word. Let me just double check. Torrey Craig, Tyrese Maxey, we'll start getting away with Torrey Craig. What is happening with that? So they're starting Craig for Chicago, and earlier in the day I thought they would start, and most projection things thought they would start for Patrick Williams. They thought they would start the Julian Phillips, but it's Torrey Craig at 3K flat starting for the Bulls now. That's not the most fun roster ever either.
Torrey Craig?
It's Corey's question. Yeah, Torrey Craig, but we'll see what happens with that projection. Because it's not like they were giving Julian Phillips a great projection either. I think Craig is going to start to look a little better. Yeah, I think he probably will look okay. He's starting. He plays defense. He'll guard Giannis so he can get in foul trouble if you want to find a reason. But he's not going to be like, I don't know if he'll be that crazy on. There's just too much other value out there. Corey's asking about an Embiid minutes restriction. It's become a very strange topic because he's played over the minutes restriction twice. And it's not today. There was no official new word. And I think they're in sort of semi must-win-ish type of mode. But the thing is, you'll probably know with Embiid, right? Like, if he can in 32 minutes, can he get 60? I think it's very reasonable for him to get 60 in 32 minutes. In 30 minutes, I think it's still very reasonable. Look, it's a large field GPP play. I would not be playing it in the 555 or the 888, whatever, 777, whatever it is tonight. But I think it's an interesting way to go in the large field stuff.
All right, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to update. I'm going to put the Stay King stuff, and then I'm going to get moving. Okay. My plan is to be on at 11.